Let me ask you today, have you ever truly been desperate? I mean, we all think we've been desperate. We've all been in situations where we're not sure how we're going to get out or what we're going to do. But I'm talking about, have you ever been truly, truly desperate? Desperate to the point where there is no way out. There is nothing you can do. You don't, like, you're just broken. It's all you can do to just pick yourself up off the ground, literally. You've just emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically bankrupt. And I think, my father used to say, it's only God can say when it's enough. Sometimes we go through things, we all go through things in life. We complain, I can't take this anymore. Usually when you're saying you can't take this anymore, you've got about another 10, 20 steps you can go. It's the self-pity that kicks in. And our control mechanisms that are trying to take control so we don't have to be where there's pain. You know, I've said this about men. I think that's why a lot of men are not men, really. They've got men's plumbing, but not in their mentality, their psyche, because they run from pressure instead of embracing it. And maybe in your life, you've got down to where you think it's your bottom, you can't go any lower. And I'm not wanting to doom you to lower, but I think this whole world and currently where we're at, we're being propelled onto lower levels. And I think that we're all having an invitation right now to have a spiritual awakening, to be awoken into the fact that we need to take responsibility for our lives. And it, you know, I share a lot about love, romance, those sort of things, because I believe that's what God's heart is with us. And so someone could say to me, I've said, why don't you just go and talk to God? And people are like, well, talk to God. I don't even know if I believe in God. And we've covered that. Anyone that says that generally has just been abused by religion or religious dogmas. And so they've put a mask up to block off that, where love is really a movement, isn't it? It's not something that we control. When I love somebody, you know, I know somebody, a lady that I think's wonderful, but I don't have control over what goes on and what, you know, I'm not with her, but the feeling and the understanding of love, you start to understand, I can't really control this. I have to flow with it. And the more you fight it, the more miserable you'll be. And it's the same with God. I think when a relationship comes around, the core of that relationship is honesty. And I would hope that, you know, when that right woman comes to my life, honesty will be expected. To be able to bear your heart and soul and to know that it's a safe place. Now, I think in the religious mindset, we think, well, I have to present that I'm good enough, and that way this guy will like me, or this girl will like me. No, we miss it. We miss true love, and that's what religion does. It gets us caught up in performance-based love. Trying to perform to be good enough. If I look good enough, if I dress good enough, if I have the right muscles, if I'm, you know, earn enough money, then I'm good enough. And that's religious love. And people that have been involved deep in religion have often been abused by that. But true Holy Spirit love is a surrendering. It's a coming and saying, I'm no good. I know I'm no good. I don't feel good enough to be with you. I don't feel good enough to be with her. She may not feel good enough to be with me. We don't feel good enough to be with God. And so I talk about walking on the beach, and what I would say the first step of any relationship is honesty. And it's a bit scary because you're like, well, what's going to happen? And, you know, and to walk on the beach is the good place to start, and to start to get honest with God. Tell him the good things in your life. Tell him the bad things in your life. Tell him the ugly things in your life. Tell him the things that you've buried and you wouldn't want to tell anybody. And that might take you weeks. You know, I had a friend that I was walking through this at one point. He was walking through it himself. I was encouraging him to walk through it in the States. And he said, Scott, I'd be months into this and I'd pull my car over on the side of the road and just remembering some of the things I'd done as a young man. And he said, and I'd just give it to God. God, I surrender it. Take that out of my life. Because what we do when we do something wrong, we layer our lives. We've done something that we know was bad, and often it's, you know, compromising who we are. We know it's bad, so we can't handle the pain of it. We layer our lives with more and more lies, more and more of those actions, more and more of... And I remember hearing, I think it was Ted Bundy or someone, that one of those mass murderers back in the day, I remember hearing what he'd said when he raped a woman and killed her accidentally. I don't know that it was accidentally, but he killed her. And they said, so he said, you know what I did? I felt so bad, I did it again. Then he said, and then I did it again and again and again until I felt nothing. And that's people's lives. That's why you can't get love, because you've done things in your life, not murder, thank God, hopefully, but as you've done things like compromise, slept with men, slept with women, just given away your heart and soul to try to be accepted and loved. You've just prostituted your soul. You've been with people that you shouldn't be with, in places where you shouldn't be, doing things you shouldn't be doing, trying to find love, trying to find acceptance. The orphan heart, we call it. A heart that's orphaned. It doesn't fit, doesn't feel loved. So what you do is you come along and it's going to be tough, but it's a journey that needs to happen if you want to be free. If you ever want to have love and be loved and be safe in that environment. So it's a case of then walking with God and starting to peel the layers back off your life. And maybe the first layer is here, God, I did this. And I just give that to you. And you will feel free. You will feel that the pain of that thing go. But eventually as you go down the layers, you'll get to a layer that is the core of what you were hiding all along. And maybe you were molested as a child. Maybe you were abused. Maybe you were beaten. Maybe you were, who knows. Trouble with some of us is we're like the rest of us. All of us have got things that have been in our lives or have that we're not proud of, or things that we've done that we're ashamed of, or things that have been done to us that we're ashamed of. And it's revisiting those things. You say, it's too painful, I can't. Well, deal with what's above it. Talk to God about it. And then what you do is you wait. And you don't need a counselor. You need a beach. You need to talk to God, the Father. Let's call it the Father's heart, the spiritual Father. Maybe your father was abusive, but the Heavenly Father's not. So you take a walk and just tell him. What about take this? I forgive that person. For me, it was God, I forgive them. I forgive. And it might have been a week, 2 weeks, constantly forgiving that thing, the same thing, until I felt freedom come, and it did. To come and the things that you've done in your life or have been done to you that you're so embarrassed, so ashamed of, that you hope that nobody ever knows. Tell God. Tell God. And it might be such a struggle. Just tell him a little bit. And then the next time you feel comfortable, tell him a little more. Take the journey of love. Because I tell you, if you're going to be in a relationship, that's my next relationship. If I'm going to be in with somebody, they're going to have to be able to tell me everything. Because how you leave is how you enter. If you leave in a lie, you'll enter in a lie. And then that lie will create. I like to say, when we leave a relationship, we pack our bags and we take them with us. And we do that spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And then when we get to our new relationship, we put them at the door, we go and have a good time, but eventually those bags are going to get unpacked. We go back to the door and we get the bags and we open them up, and now there's hurt, there's pain, there's disappointment, there's lies, there's rejection, there's fear. And how do you deal with that? Now it comes and it decimates your new relationship. So honesty is where it's got to begin. To get honest where you are. And if that means that it ends where you are, then it ends. But you've got to get honest. Start with getting honest by God. Walk with God and tell him. Tell him the things you're scared of. Because I can tell you something. If I could tell that lady this, I'd say to her, you're safe here. You're safe here. You know, it's funny, once you've been to that bottom and God's healed you and delivered you, you don't judge others. So if she could sit here with me, you know, and I'm sitting on my son's motorbike here, a bit of a messy garage, but it's, if she could sit here, it'd be opening that heart of honesty and saying, you're safe here. Okay, some of those things might be a little like, oh, wow, that's pretty hurtful. Maybe it's shocking, but I can tell you, let love have the opportunity to be unconditional. You might be surprised that person's just going to say, I love you. I love you. Not even. They'll just put their arms around you, or they'll just sit with you and say, I'm still here. I got no place to go, because you're worth it. Get honest with God, and then that'll become honest in a relationship. God bless you.